I'm Patrick Harrigan of the Living Heritage Trust, formerly Cultural Survival of Sri Lanka. I'm speaking to you now. We're in Mankerni, a coastal village in Batticolo district, hard struck by the tsunami of December 26, 2004. And we're in one of the refugee camps, formerly of a community that was the supporters of the annual foot pilgrimage from the far north to the far south, Katragama. And this village of Mankerni is one of several that consists entirely of indigenous people, the Vedas, the people who formerly, until a generation ago, lived by gathering honey and wild fruit from the forest, by hunting and by fishing. But with the onset of the ethnic conflict here more than 20 years ago, they were all herded into a few camps surrounding military bases like Mankerni. Now with the tsunami, they have lost whatever little they had. They're now homeless, and you see they're living in tents without work because their boats have been destroyed by the tsunami. We, Living Heritage Trust, are here to help them not merely to rebuild their homes, the coastal region of Sri Lanka, to recover their livelihoods, their homes, and their identity as indigenous people. This is Manik Sandrasagra in Batticolo district in eastern Sri Lanka. We're in a community that consists of 545 families, and of these families are entirely of indigenous origin. They are Vedi Paramparai, that is, they are Tamil-speaking Vedas. This is an isolated community that consists actually of many old Tamil clans, communities, who once wandered about in the interior, gathering honey, hunting, and also making their livelihood by fishing. But when the war in Sri Lanka began 20 years ago, they were ordered by the security forces to settle along the coast near the Navy and Army bases. So this has been a refugee camp even before the tsunami struck in December. And now with the tsunami, one can see that they've had to leave their houses on the beach, dashed to pieces, and living in tents here in Manik Sandrasagra. And just 4 miles south of here is another similar village, Mankerni, of 383 families. So our NGO, the Living Heritage Trust, has as its objective to help these people to preserve their identity, their lifestyle, their identity as indigenous people. And it's our aim to set out to help these people to rebuild their lives, including help them to rebuild homes. But not homes in the sense that the government of Sri Lanka has in mind with asbestos roofs, concrete blocks, and so on. We intend to have architects help us to design homes which incorporate traditional indigenous features with modern conveniences. So each home will have a sanitary lat, there'll be a water access with a well, there may even be a solar panel so they can have electric lights at night. This is our objective. This village of Manik Sandrasagra, we are looking at initially only 12 families. We will rebuild the homes, but later, resources permitting, we intend to go on because there are 535 families here alone and another 383 in Mankerni. This is Palchena. Palchena is another indigenous village. The Vedas of Sri Lanka trace their lineage matrilineal, so they respect their elders, particularly the grandmothers. This is a traditional home in Palchena. These are the people who support the tradition of Padayatra.
We are in Mankerni, on the east coast of Sri Lanka. A traditional Tamil-speaking Veda community of about 370 families who live along the coast and therefore affected by the tsunami on 26th of December last year. In the rehabilitation process, for which most of the funds are pledged for the south coast and various communities, the Mankerni community represents an indigenous population that has really nobody promoting their interests or their lifestyle which is practically on survival from day to day. We are hoping to start a program by building maybe a cluster of 6 houses and creating the nucleus for a program that could then generate into providing houses for all of the 370 families in Manik. We have got architects and planners from the city who have studied indigenous populations over a long period of time, who have come up with the kind of dwellings that they'll feel comfortable in, while arranging for the homestead around their houses, which will be sustainably designed in terms of fencing, in terms of the plants that they will surround themselves with, because merely handing over a house will not solve the problem. These people are on the edge of poverty. The Living Heritage Trust is a coalition of several other organizations, all who have been working in the field of in protecting and preserving the rights of indigenous people for the last 30-odd years. We believe that Article 8J of the Biodiversity Convention should be implemented in Sri Lanka in full, where traditional people leading traditional lifestyles be recognized. We conduct the annual Padayatra from Jaffna to Kataragama, which is a foot pilgrimage that has been carried on from mythic times, where traditional people walk to the sylvan shrine of the god of Kataragama, god of war, god of all the communities of Sri Lanka, the jungles of Kataragama. The Living Heritage Trust is a loose organization, so lots of people from all over the world who have given their time and expertise in trying to preserve what is best in our culture that we have had over the last few thousands of years, and building up on their own experiences rather than trying to introduce change to them, but in a changing world to make them understand how they can best utilize their own resources for financial gain. These communities around here, there are almost 1,000 families, and there is really nobody interested in building homes for them. The government has plans which we will work with the government in identifying where they have decided to resettle these families, but we want to make sure that we can organize that these 1,000 homes that are being built retain their traditional flavor in terms of their own spiritual ideals, their own idea of what they want for themselves, rather than creating urban ghettos on this part of Sri Lanka. We don't know where we are going to get the money for this project. We haven't the faintest idea. We don't know whether we know we can work with the government and the local organizations in getting them to accept what needs to be done. But with our own resources, we will start building, hoping that the world will follow by supporting the program, which is the first of its kind with indigenous people in Sri Lanka post-tsunami.
I'm Gaja Param, and I'm speaking from Mankani, which is populated by indigenous Vedas in Sri Lanka. The folks here, about 500 families here, they have been badly affected by the tsunami disaster, and they are now looking to resettle themselves and construct new houses and go back to their known livelihoods. And but they also want to preserve their indigenous values, and towards that we're trying to help them by bringing their values, plight and values to the international community. Thank you.
Go out, make a little bit funny with the water. You friendly or not? Will I come or you friendly? Manuel!
This is Vagrai Siddhi Vinayaga Kovil, the Ganesh temple destroyed by the tsunami. This is London Sri Kanaka Durgai Anadi Ilam, Siruvar Ilam, children's home in Kadiravelli, in the particular district of Sri Lanka. And we are visiting a boys' home here in Vagarai or Kadiravelli. There are 41 boys across the road. In the girls' home, another 40 girls. And conditions here are rather primitive. No electricity, very little water, no employment. Very good.
Veio,